What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Panthers Nation Network. We're talking just a little bit before training camp gets started about some of the things going on. Of course, the biggest headline, we now, guys, are going to the Super Bowl, according to Panthers Twitter, because of our newest signing.
Of course, it's already time. You already know what time it is, man. You know, Rashad Penny, you know what I'm saying? Penny pension, you know what I'm saying?
Like, quite literally.
But, I mean, obviously, these are the types of signs you expect when you get a new coach that came from, you know, a previous place like in Seattle. A guy that's going to contribute. I'll be honest, I won't act like I know a whole lot about him in terms of his game, his style of play. I got to imagine he would need to be like the bruiser, like the type of back that we don't have in our backfield, which makes sense considering the guys that we currently have. You have Chuba Hubbard, Miles Sanders for however long we may keep him, Jonathan Brooks now. And so you don't necessarily have that type of back that you can hand the ball to on third and short and expect him to just grind out those short yardage situations. So grabbing Rashad Penny makes sense. But it's also May. I don't know if people understand this or not, but like a lot of moves are gonna be made by the time we get to the game one that this roster won't even look the same.
Yeah, and I think that like it's not like he's gonna be competing for the starting minutes. Like we're bringing him in for second and third string. He'll be competing with the likes of, Raheem Blackshear or Tariq Cohen, who I guess is still on the roster.
Yeah, he is still on the roster. But like special teams is gonna be what I would expect out of him. Like if he can contribute there. Like you said, obviously short yardage situation because he is the only back that we have on the roster right now that even possesses that type of ability to work in the short yardage. But other than that, it's a normal May signing. It's nothing that I would necessarily look too deep into. Now for Miles Sanders, you should look as far as you should be reading the fine print on this because it's almost time.
See, and we talked about this last week, and I'm going to bring it back onto it because I've been thinking about a lot of it. I truly do not think that we need to rush on Jonathan Brooks because unless we're sitting here thinking that our running game is going to be like what flips the script and we're going to go, 0 to 100 this year. Mm-hmm. He's coming off of injury. Now, granted, like we said, it's a clean rip, a clean tear, so that's better than it could be. But, if we do have a packed running back room, then, run all the horses in the stable. Let them get their legs out and give Jonathan Brooks the time to seamlessly transition into it. Give him the time over the year. I think he could take his time. He doesn't have to see starting minutes until next year, in my opinion.
In all honesty, I mean, that's not a bad way to look at it. Because like you said, there is no true rush. We don't think we're competing for any type of playoff contention. I mean, we don't know. Maybe things work out differently. Come time for the season to start. But like you said, there is a stable of backs that have played NFL snaps. I do expect Miles Sanders to be better. At this point, I do expect to see Miles Sanders probably get moved. I think the play here has to be, let's see if Miles Sanders can look some type of way he looked in Philly. And let's see if we can move him possibly for a trade. There's going to be a team out there thinking that, hey, Miles Sanders could probably help us if we're already at the brink of being a playoff team or making a push.
I mean, I could see Saquon going down midway through the year with another seasoning injury. The Eagles come calling back for, hey, can you come finish this out for us? I think the problem, though, is we talked about it, is just being into the second year of that 4-year contract. It's just going to be hard to get anybody to eat it unless they really, really need it.
I'm going to tell you something. Scott Fitterer, brother, I ain't going to lie. That man has done irreparable damage to this franchise. He's done the things he's done that we're still having to deal with.
We're still paying.
Who are we still paying?
So we're still paying Sam Darnold. I think this is the last year of paying him.
Still?
I think. You have to double check me on that one. I know we're still paying Christian McCaffrey. And not necessarily Fitterer's fault. Could be we're still paying, Frank Reich. And I don't think we're paying Matt Rule anymore.
This is Scott's fault, bro.
I mean, yeah, but thank goodness we have his antithesis in Brant Tillis. If anybody can flip the script on it and get someone to overpay for Miles Sanders, it's Brant Tillis.
Yeah, and good teams are usually, I'm not going to lie, good teams at that point, maybe not good teams, but desperate teams are willing.
Yeah.
desperate teams are willing to overpay for something they think can put them over the top. I mean, maybe it works. I still think he's a good running back.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, based off the type of running backs that I've seen Canales work with, he does make sense for Dave Canales. I think the fact of the matter is you don't want to have a running back on that type of deal going into your early stint of your career when you have a young quarterback that isn't making anything right now. Paying a running back isn't necessarily what I'm looking to do at this point.
No, not in the slightest, and especially now that you've got one. You know, he doesn't have the rookie deal, obviously, right. But to have him as just a 20-year-old running back like that, you know, even if he does have to wait a year, and you're still a 21-year-old running back. That's yeah. Right. Oh God, he can finally now drink after the games when we win. Like that's the craziest part. But I think that, you know, for Miles Sanders, like that was the real issue, right? Like we knew what he was supposed to be, and the production wasn't there, but like the usage also wasn't there. The way that we were told he was going to be used was like in this, you know, this Shane Steichen-like offense that he was going to be able to seamlessly transition to, and then when we got to the season, it was halfback read, run up the tackles, you know, like it was not how he was supposed to be used. So I could see him coming in the way that he used, you know, his running backs in Tampa Bay. In Seattle, he didn't have as much of a, you know, ability to do so. But I think people also forget, like, getting guys like Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt isn't just for Bryce Young.
Yeah.
Like,
this is going to change the offense in totality. He's already stated at his, I think it wouldn't have been at the combine or whatever, but they're going to be stubborn with the run game this year.
Yeah, he has said that multiple times, both him and Dan Morgan.
Yeah, so I mean, they're trying to establish a different type of mentality in that locker room, a different type of mentality on the field. I'm hopeful that we see a much more physical group, you know, a team with a lot more tenacity, a little bit more nastiness to them, and guys like Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt definitely do that for you.
I mean, we've been the team of, you know, dual running back threat groups every time we've been consistently successful. Mm-hmm. I mean, you think about it in terms of, you know, Stephen Davis and Deshaun Foster going back and forth, obviously in that time frame. Then you think about it as well with Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams, Jonathan Stewart and Mike Tolbert. Like, it has been the will of the way that it's gone for the Panthers. So I don't think they're trying to skimp on running backs, and especially with the new kickoff return rules in place, I could see them easily going, you know, we would rather use guys like Tariq Cohen, Raheem Blackshear, or even Rashad Penny for these new kickoff return rules.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I could say it's too many guys that have that type of that level of experience. Guys that aren't costly. I don't see. I mean, is there a possibility where we see Xavier get returning kicks?
I think you have to expect it, right? Like, we know that if Laviska was still on the team, and we still don't know where he's going at all, I don't think.
I haven't seen any news. I would have. To be fair, I'm not checking for Laviska.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm not really worried about Laviska. I liked his tenure, if you can call it that.
Right.
But, like, I think you kind of have to expect it. I think it'll depend upon, like, how we feel about our wide receiver room going into the year, because while it is set up to be less, you know, detrimental of a play, it is still going to be. I mean, at the end of the day, a kickoff's a kickoff. Like, you're gonna, like, it's people running full speed at you, you know, and so I think there could be a chance of injury in any kind of play like that. So I think, depending upon also how he pops off, I think that could change things. I could also see him maybe in the punt return setting. But I also like him, and we're forgetting about Amir. Like, I think Amir did a fine job. He scored the first freaking punt return touchdown the Panthers have had in the greater part of the last.
That's right. I mean, Amir. I was thinking about Amir Abdullah. But we've had.
Holy crap! We had Amir Abdullah, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Oh my god!
We had so many different. But honestly, Smith Marset for sure. Like, I think that's a guy. I think that's a guy that's kind of getting forgotten in all of this too, though. Like, he's a guy that I'm really hopeful that he can grow as a receiver this year. Like, we've seen him as a returner. He had the one return. I'll be completely honest. I didn't love him as a returner for the majority of the year. Like, he didn't do enough for me personally, except for the Chicago game.
To be fair, he had a lot of, like, there was a lot of returns out there. Like, it was going to be hard to get consistent success with it because of how much he was having to return the ball.
Yeah.
But I also agree with you that, like, he definitely didn't push the envelope enough, especially when, like, you had nothing to lose in half of those returns. We weren't in compromising situations.
Now, mind you, I'm still big on the guy. I still want to see if he can be some type of some type of contributor, especially considering where I think the offense is going to move to, and considering the type of bodies that are in the room now. His skill set is much more valuable to this coaching staff than the last one. The last regime seemingly didn't value speed and physicality after the catch. That's exactly what Smith Marset brings. I don't know. I'm not expecting him to be some type of juggernaut all of a sudden, but I just expect to see more of him this year. I think, like you said, having those types of bodies in the room now, more just elite. It's more elite athletes in the room that can push the envelope on a defense. I just expect to see more.
And I mean to have. Having Deontay Johnson in the room there with him is going to be the best thing for him.
Yeah.
To work on, his route running ability, to work on the separation. I think that's where, that's really what they're trying to put a focus on. And, I mean, you can see that in the wide receiver room of, like, with Adam Thielen, Deontay Johnson, like, they are guys that get separation. They run routes as crisp as you can see it. Leggett is not going to get separation, but he's going to make sure he's the only one who catches that friggin' football. He is going to hog tie that thing down and make sure that he's the only one who's bringing it down. And and his route running, I think, is overlooked by his size.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that people don't take into account that there are certain things that he's shown he has an ability to be able to do. There's still room to grow. And that's the main thing, and that's fine. That's what the offseason's for. That's what the coaching staff is here for, to help bring these guys along. And I think with what we have surrounding him this year with Deontay Johnson and Adam Thielen, what he does will be a lot more pivotal.
Oh yeah.
In this offense, there won't be. I feel like there'll be a lot of scenarios where he'll be put in advantageous situations because of the surrounding group because of that surrounding group.
And I think he's going to make Bryce Young look better.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. He made Spencer Rattler look better.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those throws that he was getting, the reason why they were insane catches was because he had to go into ridiculous positions to be able to bring the ball down. And whether it was, turning 360 degrees, whipping his head around to get to where the ball was, or, trying to make sure he had both of his feet in bounds because the ball was going about 1.5 feet to the sideline. Like these routes that we were upset with Mingo about and Chark about last year of, not finishing the seam route, slowing down halfway through, not, diving for the catch. You're not going to get that from Leggett.
No.
I think he's going to, stretch out for the ball.
Yeah. It's crazy. Oddly enough, I am excited about Jonathan Mingo in year 2, though. I am excited. Like he does. Because if it works out, then imagine what this receiver room looks like if Jonathan Mingo takes that next step. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't even now it's totally night and day, because now you have a physical threat in Mingo that after the catch shows that ability to be able to go over the middle and does still have speed. Leggett who can elite athlete, can get over the top. Deontay Johnson that can win with short area quickness, and then you have your OG slot receiver and Adam Thielen who can just. He's a zone beater. I mean, he's one of those guys that can just find the soft spots in the zones. Works great with a young QB. Saw the connection him and Bryce had last year. I mean, if that group if Mingo takes a step forward, this group looks a whole lot different.
Yeah, and especially it's different now because he's got nothing to lose.
Right.
I mean, let me rephrase. He does have everything to lose. He has his entire job to lose in his position on this team, but it's all of the pressure is not on him now. Whereas last year, we're like, all right, DJ Chark's got some injury history. He's kind of unproven. He's got some consistency, but Adam Thielen, he's great, but it's Adam Thielen. The window is closing.
Yeah.
So our guy of the future, by default, is you. And through sheer issue of usage, through sheer issue of coaching, and through sheer issue of just lack of development, he fell in every category. Now it's all right, if you fall through. We got Deontay Johnson on a good deal for a good time frame in his career. He had some down years, but everyone on the Steelers had some down years. There wasn't a player on the Steelers. There wasn't an offensive player on the Steelers that had a good year last year.
No, they figured it out somehow, some way. But
that's just because of Mike Tomlin. I don't think any player I don't think that team was going anywhere. And then, Adam Thielen, I mean, he proved himself to be exactly what we thought he was going to be and more. Mm-hmm. All he's got to do is continue that. So for me, same with both him and honestly TMJ, because now there's no pressure on either of them. If they get minutes, cool. If they don't, it's not a waste of talent per se.
Yeah, TMJ at this point, I forget he's on the roster a lot of times. You kind of just look. Look. We know we know when the fix is in. Like, we know when it's your time. When it's your time. Like, and that his time is kind of past. I mean, once last year didn't work out in any shape, form, or fashion, and so much so to the point where he's DMP.
Yeah.
Like,
but I'll be interested to see how much what it's going to come down to training camp, honestly. Like, because right now he has been, like, we haven't heard anything hide or tail of him, but we also haven't heard we're shopping him. They have been very nondescript about his future.
To be fair, you can't shop something nobody wants.
No, you can't. But then why not cut him already? You're
right. But here's the thing about TMJ, right? Like, he's good enough for me to be able to say, like, let's keep him around and let's see if we can get something out of him. Like, he's not.
That's what I'm saying.
God awful. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, if things work out in camp, and we have no idea. We know how these things go. Injuries happen. Knock on wood, but that's just the nature of the game. So he'll have an opportunity to make plays, and of course, I mean, he's still young relatively. So there's no real rush to say, like, man, let's just get rid of him. Let's see if we can get something out of him, and if there's something there, that's one less position we have to focus on spending money on in the future. So
now I want to get your opinion, because we've been talking about it. So we obviously said our three for the most part right now: Xavier Legette, Adam Thielen, Deontay Johnson. The wide receiver groups for the other quarterbacks drafted in his class, with the Titans, as of the day of recording this, getting Tyler Boyd to complete the room of Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins. Then you got the Colts with Adonai Mitchell, Michael Pittman, and Josh Downs. And then you have the Texans with Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell. Where do you feel like that room grades in terms of, all right, we've given our guy the best weapons possible?
It would still be the last. It would be. It's right there with us and the Colts.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of tit for tat. The best room, name-wise, is Tennessee's.
Mm-hmm.
Because D-Hop started to look like himself a little bit more.
Which has been crazy.
Once him and Levis started connecting, the D-ball is there. We know that's D-Hop's specialty. He still has some juice. Calvin really, I hope, can get back to his normal stuff. Didn't look like himself in Jacksonville, which is kind of surprising. I thought with him, Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence, I thought that would have worked out.
Yeah.
But that name group sounds the best. The best group that's at least played is Houston.
Yeah, because
they had the best output.
And got better.
Absolutely. You added Stephon Diggs alongside Nico Collins and Tank Dell. Hopefully Tank Dell.
Yeah, that's crazy. Hopefully he's all right.
He's doing okay, and he'll be fine, ready to go for the season. But adding him to that group, boy, it's
tough.
It's
Dalton Schultz, when you think about it too,
Dalton Schultz turned himself into one of the better tight ends we have in the game. So that group, I'd say Houston's got the best group. They've got the most proven group, at least together, because they just added the one piece in Diggs. Indy's is interesting. So you got Adonai Mitchell out of Texas.
It's either going to be the most appropriate bust or the biggest frickin' steal.
Right, because at first I'm thinking, I thought he was going to be one of those guys that went in like that 15 to 18 slot in the first round, somehow falls all the way to the second. And I wonder, like, what were the concerns that teams had when when his name came up? They're still a little bit more questionable to me.
Yeah,
though.
Josh Downs is unproven. He's young.
Still young. Show signs, but then it's Anthony Richardson too.
Yeah,
because we didn't see him a whole lot.
No,
either. So that's probably that's one of the more unproven groups. But people probably are a bit higher based off the fact that they didn't see a whole lot of Anthony Richardson play great or terrible either. So there's no real reason to feel down. Our group, on the other hand, people that watch Bryce and the sample size that we got, if you didn't watch closely enough, you think, the kid can't play. Obviously, I'm biased because I'm a fan of the team, and so what may have you. I like what we added because I understand what we needed. It may not be great in terms of names, but when I think about what we needed to add and the type of quarterback I think Bryce can be and what I think he is, I think he looks a lot different. I think we'll start to see that there was a reason why Bryce went ahead of these guys, and there's a reason why he was beating all of these guys throughout their entire career up until this point. he didn't just become a terrible quarterback overnight.
No.
So I'm more than excited to see Bryce reclaim his title as one of the best young quarterbacks in the game. And that people get a chance to see, like, hey, no, it was a reason why I was beating out C.J. Stroud at all these camps, and Anthony Richardson didn't pop until his last year of college and didn't really even pop then, say we're going to be completely honest. And Will Levis, there's a reason why he went where he went. There's a reason why I went where I went. And I think Bryce will get his opportunity to prove that with this group. This will be the group that definitely is able to help him ascend to that next tier.
I think so too, and I think also, like, again, this is not the final iteration of, like, this group. I think that there will be, I think next year, like, a receiver could still be a point high up either in the trade or the draft, like a high, priority. But I also think that, like, if you look at the 2 different years, like, everyone knew going into last year, like, it wasn't bargain bin, but it was kind of, we were like, out of all the receivers that were on the table last year, and both in the draft and free agency, and we came out with Jonathan Mingo, DJ Chark, and Adam Thielen. We were...
Plus, I remember fans thinking that, we hit the jackpot because of what we grabbed. I remember feeling like DJ Chark had to work. I say, look, once Moore's out the building, Chark has to work because he's the direct replacement for what we lost in DJ Moore. They're not similar, but he would have to be. He's the closest guy in that room at that point that could give you anything that you lost in DJ Moore, and he didn't do that. No. And once that didn't happen, I'm like, well, it's wraps on the season.
Well, and then too, like, Adam Thielen at that point, like, in the free agency, he was like the 3rd or 4th guy we picked up. We're like, all right, like, that was what we were waiting on, like Adam Thielen, like, and it wasn't because we thought he was necessarily bad, but if you just looked at it on paper, you were like, all right, he's at the tail end of his career,
right?
Like, that's.
I would have thought that a different team would have been in mind for me with Adam Thielen. And I think because of what we have to remember, though, too, is that the entire staff and everything that was the momentum that we had in terms of, like, narratives was in our favor. And I think everybody thought that, we hit on the coach. We got this all-star staff. We got all of these guys. Like, we should be able to be better and roll in the next year. You know what I'm saying? Looking to improve on a 7-10 record. But remember, none of the guys that coached that 7-10 team are on this current staff.
No.
So where is this going? The type of style of play change and everything. So a lot of misinformation, I would probably say, got us in the bond that we were in last year in terms of narratives.
Oh yeah, and I mean, like, but you looked at every guy they picked up, and, like, the most damning thing is the Texans. You looked at how they got their team. Nico Collins drafted the same year TMJ was drafted. Tank Dell drafted the same year that Jonathan Mingo was drafted. Dalton Schultz in the market, we get Hayden Hurst instead. Like, It was literally, like, point and blank, shot for shot. They get D'Amico Ryans, we get Frank Reich. Like,
talent evaluation and talent usage.
Yeah, and that's why I was, expecting and delighted to see 3 or 4 of those scouts get, booted out the door after the draft.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. I mean, we know that there's still going to be changes to be made. I mean, obviously, we talked to Kevin Donnelly some years back, and he told us, like, this is, like, when you're at that point in the season, you can fire that staff, but you're kind of going in blind to the entire process, and you kind of just got to let them do their job and finish that out, and then recoup from there.
And just because they're fired doesn't mean that they were fired because of anything to do with this draft. A lot of the times they've already done their job at that point in time in the process. They have already put their 2 cents in. And what I thought was really interesting from Dave Canals, and we talked about that, getting both sides, his old the staff he brought in and the staff that was there, bringing them all together before the draft and going down the board of, like, every player and saying, what is your priority with him? What is your priority in this position? Which is not something you hear of that often. Yeah. So to still go, like, through and respect the work that they did, I think spoke a lot of volumes. But I think for, Bryce Young, like, and especially this year, this is why I like Deontay Johnson better than I liked, like, Adam Thielen to DJ Chark last year. As comparison to, like, the guys that were around. You look at, like, a guy like Keenan Allen, injury prone, like, is dynamic when he's there, but doesn't do anything for you.
If he's on
the Chargers were able to be successful because they still had guys like Mike Williams going off. They still had guys like Austin Eckler going off. But when they're injured, you see what happens to the Chargers. So that's not going to help a rookie quarterback and an injury prone team.
Right.
And then you look at a guy like Stephon Diggs. I don't think there's a receiver out there more prima donna than Stephon Diggs. I mean, he talks about being best friends, on the field with him, and then he's chewing out Josh Allen.
Very weird how his tenure in Buffalo went.
Very odd.
And it's not a great look because I'd rather just pick what side you're on. What side of the table are you on?
Like Steve Smith, you knew he didn't like Cam Newton. We didn't care.
Right.
Because they still played.
They still play, and they still play great together. But at least there's no BSing around. Like you said, it would a little volatile of a guy to have around a young QB. Maybe that changes as he changes scenery, but we'll see.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like, that's not what you want to bring in for a rookie quarterback like, Bryce Young, who's already not mild-mannered, but like, he's got that kind of Luke Kuechly vibe of like he's going to keep it very timid off the field.
He's even killed. My guy is even killed.
Which is what you want in a quarterback.
Yeah.
But so then I think for Deontay Johnson, like, when you look at the lack of productivity, and you saw there was the spikes there of productivity, and I think it was just a time frame of like they had brought George Pickens in. They didn't really know what they were doing with quarterback in any sense of the word. Like they were definitely leaning on the run and just leaning on their defense. I think that it just got to the point where it was a really bad situation. But when he was going off, he was going off.
Oh, well, when he has his moments, he is one of the best. And he had one of his moments against us.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? The game, like in the protect the bank game, the infamous protect the bank game, Deontay Johnson went off.
Yeah.
And then people got a chance to see, like, oh, no, he's really good.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about where he was, like, you typically don't, you do this with college football where you talk about where a guy plays and, like, his numbers may not look a certain way, but it's because of the level of competition that they're facing. He's coming out of the AFC North from a team that made the playoffs that we don't necessarily think is that good. But when we saw him, we see there's a gap between us and them.
The mediocrity in the AFC North is top of the totem pole for us.
It's a different type of ball game. I believe he can be one of the best receivers in this scenario. Not because like that the AFC compared to the NFC to me is not very close.
No, not in the slightest.
Like I think top to bottom the AFC is ridiculous. And if I could tell you right now, if I move those teams around, they'd easily be the best teams in the NFC.
Every single one of those teams would be winning their respective division you put them in.
Like Pittsburgh right now would probably be a 12-win team in the NFC.
Yeah, I would say that.
If they won 10 last year with that group,
everybody, but really the Browns, and even the Browns would probably be, even
the Browns are a playoff team.
I mean,
the Browns are still a playoff team in the NFC and probably make a little bit more noise than what they did. I think that changed too. And let's be clear, this is a bad division still.
Oh yeah,
nothing about this division changed in this offseason so much so that makes me feel like this is just impossible.
I mean, the Falcons somehow got worse. Like
the Falcons situation is it's a unique one. It's a unique one. They're gonna be good. And I think it's gonna be them and Tampa going like kind of maybe not Tampa. Do I feel like Tampa's gonna be back? Yeah, Tampa may still be around.
They didn't really lose that many people other than.
They lost Canales. Obviously they lost Canales.
Yeah, but
and
we're gonna hope that has a huge impact. We're gonna hope that.
You only can hope.
Because if not,
yeah, if it don't, goodness. But I think it is gonna have an impact because considering like the quarterbacks that I've seen Canales improve on.
Oh
like
yeah.
Geno Smith,
Baker Mayfield,
even
Russell Wilson.
Exactly. So you can't tell me that he can't improve Bryce Young, and if he does improve him in such a fashion. One thing that seems to be a trend is all these quarterbacks he works with, they seem to find a way to make the playoffs.
Oh yeah, without like the teams he works with makes the playoffs.
You feel me?
Without really having to,
I don't want to hype. I don't want to give no false hope to nobody because don't ask me what.
But no one's doing it this year. No media's put it out.
Yeah, nobody's.
The Panthers are not saying it.
Nobody's doing it. So I mean, yeah, again, we'll see. We'll see how things go. I kind of forgot my point I was trying to make here, but we'll see how things go.
It's just ginger ale in the cup. We promise. So then about Bryce Young, and we can talk about it because it's been talked about. The Cam Newton comments. Mm-hmm. What was your take on them?
Context matters. Like you have to quit look. If the clip is 45 seconds. Understand the 45 seconds you're about to get is the most volatile parts of that entire statement.
It's supposed to be to get you to watch the full thing.
Literally.
That's what it's marketing 101.
What he was referencing everything he said was being referenced in hindsight. Like in hindsight,
yeah.
And let's be realistic. In hindsight, yes, CJ Stroud will be the number one pick. like in hindsight.
Yeah.
Like if I have knowledge that he's gonna go off for 4,000 yards, they're gonna make the playoffs, they're gonna win the division, then yeah, he would be the number one pick. If that's what I knew. The Anthony Richardson part probably had me more upset than anything.
Yeah, that did too. Because what did he like?
Nothing.
He would have gotten more injured on the Panthers. We gave Hayden Hurst amnesia.
Right. So like in hindsight, Anthony Richardson would probably fall lower on my board.
That's what I'm saying.
And Will Levis would move up.
That's what I was saying because like he was more proven than Anthony Richardson was.
Will Levis had a year that I don't think Will Levis was a very pleasant surprise for a lot of people.
He was. At this point, Sam Howell would move higher up the board, I think, than Anthony Richardson.
Maybe not.
He was leading the NFL in passing yards, like late in the season.
I didn't watch a whole lot of them. I'm not gonna sit here. I can't sit here and act like I watched a whole lot of Sam Howell tape. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't find
it was the Washington Commanders. I wasn't watching that.
No, but I think to your point, like, and he even said it, which is why I was so I did not understand why, like, people on Twitter were going off on him for like flipping the script. He said it point blank, like they were different situations, like, and if you want to talk about hindsight, like in hindsight, then we should have signed Dalton Schultz instead of Hayden Hurst. We should have drafted, we should have drafted Tank Dell instead of drafting Jonathan Mingo. Like
so many things before Bryce comes into the picture that I could have fixed.
Yeah.
Before we got
not hiring Frank Reich.
Right, not hiring Frank Reich probably would have been the start.
I mean,
that's probably the start. Firing Scott Fitterer probably would have been the start for me.
Yeah.
Not hiring Frank.
Yeah.
Those two things probably would have been the biggest thing, my biggest points of contention with anything Cam said. Like, and here's the thing: you can't do 1v1 player swaps because once we know the situations, C.J. Stroud wasn't gonna save us. I don't know if people
not with Adam Thielen and DJ Chark. Like,
we may have won 4 games,
if that. And the funny part is the one win we had was against the Texans. Right. Like, that's what, and of course it wasn't a shootout. Like, there literally was no touchdown scored in the game. I actually think we scored 1.
The rookie moments that C.J. Stroud had this year, in that game, in that long game he played against us. Imagine those rookie moments spread out over 17 games, because that was going to be a lot more of what you would have seen
without question.
If this is the team he inherited. Like, you're talking about a team with no separators, no big time playmakers at all, like no ground game to lean on. Like, where was the offense going to come from? I beg anybody to tell me where the offense was going to come
because
from.
The offense already came a lot from Bryce. If you go back to our 22 tape, some of the biggest plays week in and week out were Bryce Young scrambling. Yes. And he didn't even run that. He's not even a runner.
We never see. In college
he never ran once.
He refused.
Like, he openly dislikes it.
Yeah. And I didn't know how much he could run. I literally did not know the kid could run at all because he would never do it. This year, I'm like, oh, damn, that's what the hell
we saw everything about being a point guard.
Man.
All of it came out.
That was the one thing that Dave Tepper has said that has come to fruition. I did see point guard like mentality in him. He looked like Rondo out there, like just being able to finesse and finagle.
He did.
You know what I'm saying? And
he was Euro stepping out there in front of linebackers. Like, I saw him Euro step a dude out of his shoes.
The one thing that I think we got out of Bryce this year was that there is a level of playmaking ability that I don't think we all knew was there. Like the scrambling ability, I don't think we thought that was in his bag.
And the improvisation, we knew the improvisation was there.
Right.
And now you have receivers that will follow suit. I mean, we saw time and time again, he's running for his life, going backwards and forwards across the field, makes a throw across his body, and it's on the money, except Jonathan Mingo's 2 steps out of bounds already.
Put like this. The touchdowns, Bryce ended up with 11 passing touchdowns this past year. Expect that number to go. He'll be in the 20s. You'll see a drastic improvement in the team. Like, the overall team itself will be drastically improved just because the pieces make sense. Now, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say this is going to be a playoff team or anything, but the team makes a lot more sense than what last year did, knowing what we know now.
And I think that people are a little, still a little shell-shocked from, Cam Newton's early years. Like, and you got to remember, Bryce Young's not going to act like Superman. He doesn't want to be Superman. That's why he's the point guard mentality. He's not the small forward or the center. He wants to be the point guard. He's much more the Clark Kent. So I think the passing touchdowns will go up, and I think the number of interceptions will go down because last year, he had all that pressure on him to be the guy. He had to facilitate all the success on the field, and if he didn't, he was letting down a whole damn city and franchise. I think now he's going into it like he's already let. I mean, he didn't let it down, but he did. Yeah. But now it's like, okay, this regime is not putting like. I think anything about anybody to be there for his mental health. I think Canales will have a huge impact on his mental health and go, hey, like, we're going to get this figured out. Make sure you can do what you need to do. And he's even said that multiple times. Remember, he would say it in the press conference, we're not trying to get the best talent for Bryce Young because we don't have to get him the best, like, out of the first pick in the draft. Mm-hmm. Like, because we want to make sure we can get him to, like, it's not just weapons for Bryce. It's weapons all around so that he can do his job. Yeah. And then we succeed all together.
Absolutely. And if anybody that watched that team last year, if the Panthers had any success, it was because Bryce had to kind of go above and beyond to make plays happen. And again, I think it will bode well for him down the line of his career because we've seen that this is a style of play he can make. I feel a lot better about Bryce going into big games than maybe what I did before. I probably feel a little bit better about Bryce going into bigger games because I know if it comes down to it, he can scramble. He can take off and give me 17 yards on the ground. I know the improvisation. I know he has that in his game. But I also know that what was Bryce's strength was playing within the structure of the offense and being able to distribute. Well, once I can get him back to doing those normal things, because everything around him has improved, everybody's doing their job. The sky's the limit. The sky's the limit for him at that point.
I completely agree, and I think it'll be beneficial also to have a true, offensive coordinator in there with Canales. Like, he's been very apparent about not calling all the plays. Like, he hasn't let on to who will be calling the plays.
Right.
But to have his guy in there who he's worked with a long time, it's not like Frank Reich getting, Thomas Brown just sight unseen.
Yeah.
I think that to have a consistent philosophy around your offense, to base it on the run game, because I think that's what you're supposed to do with a rookie quarterback that young. Like, people think about it like with Cam Newton. We passed because we were able to.
Right.
We ran to start. Like, that was where the success came from. He made the big throws when we needed him to, but it wasn't like we weren't throwing 30 freaking times a game like we were last year. And so I think that will help it a lot in itself. And hopefully the schedule will allow for it to be all right. But I guess, we'll see as training camp comes about where the development comes from. Like, you said, I don't think we're done with this team. I don't think this team is done being put together.
Not even close. Not even close. I mean, that's the next thing now is what the schedule release is coming up.
Schedule release next week, along with, the start of training camp. So I think, and of course it'll be in Charlotte this year, so that'll be a whole different beast.
Yeah, they'll be seeing a lot of us this year.
And I almost wonder what kind of effect that will have on Bryce. Not having to travel, not having to stay, in a dorm room. Like, he'll be, I assume, in an apartment, at his place. I'm assuming that's where they're going to let everybody still stay where they are and come in. So I'm interested to see what, Tepper got a few years of it and saw what it was like. And I think the intention would have been to have a facility in Rock Hill to where the players could have stayed.
Right.
And then that could have continued, and instead of being in a campus, because, let's be honest, that was only because of Jerry Richardson.
That was it. That was the only thing that kept that going.
That's all it was. And so I think that it'll be interesting to see what kind of effect that does have on training camp, for new guys coming in. Because, I don't think it ever necessarily had a negative effect, but it wasn't a trend around the NFL.
No, exactly. We were one of the last teams doing that, going away for camp. Hopefully this will be better. Hopefully the recovery process will be better. Being in a place that you're comfortable will be better. So maybe you see better performances out of some of these guys. Than what we've seen before. And hopefully we can keep these guys healthy. That's my main thing. Keep the guys healthy throughout camp. Get us through the season. At as close to 100% as possible as we can be.
And score in the preseason.
Yes.
Score touchdowns.
Unfortunately, that's crazy. That's the unfortunate part. I remember me and one of my coworkers. It was after the Jets preseason game. It was like man, people are overreacting. Because I've never had to really care about a preseason game. How much did we score? But I do have to care about how we look. I do have to care about how we look. How does this present itself? I have to be a little bit more critical of the preseason than I ever had before. Not that it's the end all be all, but I have to see certain things look away for me to for me to really invest into this season.
Because it's your audition now. Like it actually, like in the past with Rivera, it was like, okay, we know what we're getting from the team.
Yeah.
We know what we're getting from Rivera. We're not, but like we haven't had to worry about that in a while. And with Matt Rule, it was all right. What are we getting this year? Like we don't. What is going to happen this season? And
guys got to prove. Guys got to show us. They got to prove to us, like, hey, this is what we're gonna look like. This is how we're gonna look. And as we hopefully can get multiple years under a head coach that can bring success, we can get back to how we were with Rivera and not have to worry about the preseason at all. And we'll know what we look like come week 1.
As the other thing is that with Rivera's squad, like the players we would have coming in, they were only ever additions. Like, all right, like let's see how he can help. Like it's not an issue if he doesn't do anything. With Rule and with Reich as well, it was like, all right, who did you bring onto this team? Like who are these guys?
Right.
And these are also guys that you've co-signed on for a good like 40% of the squad. So like they better work out, and very rarely did any of them. And Frank Reich was not innocent of it either. He did the same freaking thing.
Yeah.
And Morgan shows some flashes with obviously like Rashad Penny and Gabe Jackson. We'll see if they actually perform. But like that's where I'm like, all right, so now we have to actually see, and we have to actually pay attention to the players and the position battle. See, okay, is this bargain bin guy that we picked up actually going to be impactful on the team?
Yeah,
because it's not a guarantee anymore.
It isn't. It indeed is not. It definitely isn't. But like I said, I'm intrigued to see how this thing works out. Like I said, I'm just a lot more reserved going into this year than we were last year. I'm not overly excited. I like what I see though. Like I can't lie that Dave Canales has definitely sold me in the interview process of this. Like he sold me as a coach. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have to be fake excited about this either. That's kind of the thing. So I don't have to be fake excited about it. I like what I've seen from him. I like what he did at Tampa at the end of last year. I'm like, if that's what you can bring. If you can bring that type of stability to our offense and have our team playing at that type of level, then by all means, brother, bring that on.
And we just want to let y'all know that this episode and the Panthers Nation Network and main page are being brought to y'all by Bet Carolina. We've got a partnership going on with the betting platform. So remember, live betting is, of course, open in North Carolina. We saw all the freaking commercials. We can't escape them. We still see them. And it's obviously never too late to get on the action. We've still got Wells Fargo coming up this week, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. You can bet on NASCAR now. Like, there's no shortage of things to bet on. So P1N and Bet Carolina have teamed up to make sure you have access to our exclusive promo codes, and you can start that today. All you got to do is download the app, and we work with the 5 largest betting sites in the world. So go to the link that's in our bio. It's betcarolina.com/P1N, and that's betcarolina.com/P1N, and make sure you go through that link. You get the constant promotions from our exclusive promo links. So join today to get started and start building up your parlays. I know we're going to get in on that because if we're going to talk about it this much, we might as well make some money off of it in some respects.
Hey, look, here's what the only thing I want for y'all boys, man, is get your money up. Let's get this paper, man.
This is not insider trading. I wouldn't bet on any Panthers players or any Panthers games if you don't want to be twice as upset if things go south. I would not advise betting on the Panthers. But other than that, you do what you want. Y'all do what you want to do.